If you're a residential real estate agent earning $200,000 a year and you want to grow your passive income, this show's for you. Learn the secrets other agents use and hear from experts in our field in order to guide you along your journey to investing in assets like apartment communities so that you can turn your commissions into cash flow. I'm Randall McLeod. Let's go, baby. All right. Welcome back to Agents Building Cash Flow. It's me, Randall McLeod. I'm excited to talk to you guys today because I just jumped off an interview with John McManus. He's a commercial industrial sales broker, and the guy's done a ton. The interview will come out in a few weeks and you'll hear the conversation that we have. But before we got started, he started talking about, there are other ways to make cash flow. I understand that, you can invest in real estate, and I've done a lot of deals, but it even comes back to the very beginning of my career. So this is the conversation he and I are having. And essentially he said he was lucky enough to partner with a guy early in his career and do a deal. And it sounds like he took those deals. It doesn't sound like, I know that he took those deals and he started 1031ing those deals over and over again so that he wasn't paying capital gains on that. And he's expanded that initial transaction into a lot of real estate that he currently owns. And the cash flow coming from that on a quarterly basis is more than the acquisition price of the first deal. So, that's the power. I mean, he did that in the 90s and he's just been rolling it, but that's the power of the 1031s and something that we highly advocate. But before we even got into any of that, he just said, look, first and foremost, one of the first lessons that you should have is pay yourself first. It's very important in our industry and our business that you are paying yourself first, because no one is taking out your tax bill. No one is taking out your profit in as a 1099 contractor, right? And so it brought up to me a book that I've read a number of times. It's called Profit First, and by Michalowicz. I butchered his name, I'm sure. But this book, to me, it changed the way I looked at the way we were making money with our business, because it really is pay yourself first. You hear it all the time, and it makes sense. But a lot of times what happens when you make a commission, if you're not putting any of that money towards taxes, you're not putting any of that money towards your savings or investment funds, then you are just spending whatever that money, whatever you want to spend that money on, and then you live on whatever's left over. And that's basically the opposite way that you should live. So within the book, what he talks about, he gives you, if you're into kind of a step-by-step or a programmatic approach to a book where it gives you an actual process that you can follow, that's what is really good about this book. It says, the summary, I guess, would be that if you make $100,000, then you should be putting X percent, and this is for you to determine, X percent towards your savings, X percent towards your investments, your taxes, and then whatever's left over, that's the operating budget for the company, right? And this is if you're doing it within a company. And so it's a unique approach. Instead of at the end of the year saying, oh, I did $2 million in sales, and yet you have no cash in the bank, and not really understanding your personal financial statement, your cash flow statement, cost of goods sold, all of that until the end of the year is a huge problem. And so, it was just an interesting conversation with John, hugely successful guy, transacted over $4.5 billion worth of real estate. And that's kind of where he took the conversation. She's just like, this is so important that it's so basic that if you're not doing it, you really need to be doing it and implement it now. So make sure that you're paying yourself first. Make sure that, we talk about building cash flow. We talk about investing in all these things. But at the end of the day, if you're not sucking some money away on every single transaction that you do, then you're doing yourself a disservice, right? So that's one thing. And then again, talking to him about 1031, 1033 exchanges, reverse exchanges, all these things that I learned today. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. We just did a deal where the city took part of our property, and I didn't know about a 1033 exchange. I don't know if they still exist. I need to go and do the research now. But essentially it's a way that you can exchange that property. You have up to a year, is how he described it, to put that capital back to work in like kind of exchange, essentially like a 1031 exchange. But it's when your property is either being condemned or eminent domain is being used. So anyway, some things to think about, something that I'm going to dig into for sure. We're proud to be sponsored by Ridgeline Investment Group. Ridgeline has a track record of transacting more than $53 million in assets throughout Texas. Ridgeline's currently looking to acquire 100 to 200 unit Class B multifamily communities between 5 and 20 million in San Antonio, Temple, Waco, Tyler, and other Texas secondary markets. To learn more about Ridgeline Investment Group, visit www.ridgelineig.com. So I wanted to highlight another book. So one thing that we have done is the 12-week year as well. And this is a book that I've talked about a number of times, and there are a bunch of different ways to structure this, but it's essentially a way for you to create your goals and your strategies over 3 months, right? So instead of looking at annual goals or 10-year projections, you do it in a 12-week year. So you're living your year in 12 weeks, segments of that. And this, as far as another workbook, if you're having a hard time getting traction, really making improvements or hitting goals that you have, then this would be a great book for you to pick up and read through. And it breaks down, again, it's like a workbook with strategies and a process for you to actually implement. It breaks down how you can achieve those big goals in a much shorter period of time, because you're compressing it and you're actually tracking things. So it's really like a tracking methodology that you can use. So just a couple of books that came up in our conversations and some that I just had sitting on the shelf that I wanted to highlight for you guys so that you can pick them up, read them. They're pretty solid, and hopefully they will help you on multiple fronts, the financial front and also just on getting stuff done. So if you have any questions, if you want to chat, by all means, reach out to me. My contact info is in the show notes. Always good having you guys on. Until next week, have a good one. Did you know that 80% of the agents we speak with got into real estate in order to gain passive income so they could obtain financial freedom and become work optional? If you want to stay up to date, the best way is to make sure you're subscribed. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do it now. We'll catch you on the next episode.